Alright guys, so I did actually see the death battle between Raiden and Excalibur, and while I did actually like it, via the funny dialogue, the fight scenes, etc., death battle didn't exactly get everything right, and I'm going to explain what exactly this is, as I have seen nobody do a debunk on this yet for some reason. And yes, I do think Raiden should have won more times than not, but let me explain why in this video. And to reassure you even more, I will say that Excalibur can actually take this battle in some ways. In some ways. Remember the word "can" in that sentence. As for the video, I will do my best to break it down into different categories and hopefully with timestamps for a more viewer-friendly watching experience. The first one I'll get out of the way that was obvious from the start is that Raiden, of course, is faster than Excalibur, no question. I'm sure everybody knew that. A bunch of people unanimously agreed on that. However, at the end of the video, Death Battle mentioned that their speed was around the same ballpark. Not sure if they thought Raiden was only fast to the point where it would give him a minor advantage or whatever, but it's without a doubt that Raiden is actually leagues above Excalibur in this category. For this explanation, I would like to mention these calcs and stuff, or at least the videos made on them, were by a channel called Crisis, a pretty decent versus battles debating channel that seems to be very well versed in Metal Gear. The video to point out here from him is the video power scaling Jetstream Sam, Raiden's rival in the game. And this will be important to note as Raiden should scale if not above Sam, especially given his cyborg enhancements compared to Sam, which has none. So before Metal Gear Rising was even a thing, or even the events of it per se, characters in Metal Gear like Solid Snake or Liquid Ocelot have been stated or shown to be able to react to lasers after they are fired, which should be in the ballpark of 70% the speed of light. And Raiden, in Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, having the ability to perceive Metal Gear Excelsis' lasers in slow motion while in Blade mode in canon and gameplay. And in gameplay you don't even need the Ripper mode to see the lasers like this, so this isn't even Raiden going all out if you wanted to say that. These lasers move at the speed of light. This of course would scale to Jetstream Sam, as in game you can often scale to Raiden when in Ripper mode. Maybe not all the time given the enhancement advantage, but the point is, this would scale Sam in gameplay, and Ripper mode is stated to be a faster multiplier than even Blade mode itself. And Raiden really wanted to kill Sam in their encounter going by the lore/canonicity, since Sam can react to Ripper mode Raiden, a character at its fastest. Sam would have combat and reaction speeds around 20,000 to 40,000 times faster than the speed of light. And Raiden of course defeated Sam, making it so he scales to, if not even above Sam as stated earlier. And from what I have seen, Death Battle stated that Raiden's combat speed is at least 11% the speed of light, which in the end of the video was stated by Death Battle to be around Excalibur's speed, if not only slightly above it. With these calcs, this would make Raiden at his peak with or without Ripper mode over 20,000 times to 40,000 times faster than Excalibur. Without a shadow of a doubt, Excalibur is not even close to Raiden in speed. The next category is something that might take a bit longer to debunk or explain, and something a lot of people seem to say is Excalibur is 4,000 times stronger than Raiden or over that. However, that only looks to be the case if you go by what Death Battle said about Excalibur. Fighting similar enemies that Atlas faced off against, and how Atlas was able to pulverize a meteor into dust which was as big as the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs, making it equivalent to 46 gigatons of TNT, which should be enough to destroy an entire island if you want to use the Versus Battles Wiki calculation. And they stated in this video, from what I've seen, that the best strength/attack potency feat that Raiden has accomplished is tossing the Metal Gear Ray in the air at the beginning of Rising and cutting it in half. It was stated from them to have generated 100 kilotons of TNT to accomplish a feat like that. However, they also got the attack potency wrong with Raiden, and I'll explain how, potentially or even 100% that Raiden can be more powerful than Excalibur. So I just gotta say this right now, that Raiden lifting and tossing Metal Gears, while is an impressive feat, is far less impressive than his other bigger feats. The ones with lifting huge things is just something a lot of Metal Gear fans like to overhype. And yes, I'm gonna get into characters in Metal Gear scaling to, no, even above nuclear weapons / bombs and even the Metal Gears themselves in that regard. Of course, it should be made clear that lifting strength a lot of the time has very little to do with combat, AP, and durability. The kinetic energy which would apply to Raiden from his lifting feats is literally 5 million or more times less impressive than the power Raiden has scaling above these Metal Gears that are stated to survive nuclear wars. Basically, things even more impressive than nukes. And that's another thing too. Why is it that Death Battle mentioned Raiden's AP was above nukes if not relative to it in Raiden vs. Wolverine, but not Raiden vs. Excalibur?
And while in Jack the Ripper mode, Raiden can strike with enough force to cut through buildings and machines built to survive nuclear war.
They have actually done Raiden more good back then now for some reason. Anyways, the amount of force Raiden will be putting in, let alone enduring, when lifting Metal Gear Excelsis is 46 billion joules. Comparing that to the energy within one of the nuclear bombs being 251 quadrillion joules. It's a far more impressive feat for Raiden to cut down these Metal Gears and characters at scale 2 and above them than to pick one up or even throw it into the air or both. This is where I get into some calculations and or scaling to prove that Raiden potentially or 100% scales somewhat above Excalibur in this situation. So, if you want to use Versus Battles wikis for this, I believe this should be the combined force for all the nuclear bombs together, whether it be the total number of them currently available on Earth or just all the types of bombs exporting together on that wiki to be, it's stated to be island level. In the past it was even more than that, but still in the island level range to say the least. Now, here's where things start to come together. If you heard me at the beginning of the AP scaling section of this video, you heard me say that Death Battle said that Excalibur scaled to a certain percent of Atlas's power or something that can halt the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs, which was equivalent to 46 gigatons of TNT, which was needed for the island level feat. However, when we get into Raiden's bit of it, it all starts to make sense that he can be in Excalibur's ballpark, if not maybe above it. So the Metal Gear Excelsis was stated in-game by the canon to be built to survive nuclear wars. And Raiden in-game, even before you get Sam's improved high-frequency blade, or even before the Armstrong encounter in general, you get to fight this Metal Gear as a boss fight. And considering it can survive nuclear wars, that means it should scale to, if not above, nukes. And these are complete wars, so I'd assume not just 1 or 2 bombs, this should be like a whole lot that it can tank here, being that it was built for that. And in gameplay, without even using Ripper mode or even the improved high frequency blade from Sam, Raiden actually manages to cut through this thing multiple times and also finish the thing off. Meaning, Raiden scales above nuclear level entities, but that's not all. After that is when you fight Senator Stephen Armstrong, who at the time was seemingly overpowering Raiden in sheer strength, making it so he scales above Raiden at that time, who scaled above that Metal Gear that scales above nukes. Not only that, but despite being overpowered by Armstrong at the time, actually managed to take a ton of blows from him, to the point that it almost looked like he was unscathed by it. More on that in a bit. After beating Raiden down for some time, Armstrong completely annihilated the Excelsis moving his scaling mentioned before above it, and Raiden completely tanked it and got right back up after that. And I didn't even see Raiden in Ripper mode in that cutscene either, meaning Raiden still wasn't going all out, nor was he at his peak if that's the case. And after all that, he finally gets Sam's sword, the high-frequency Maramasa blade, allowing him to completely contend with Armstrong and beat him, making his AP and durability even higher than it was before. And I'm still not sure if Raiden was going all out or in Ripper mode or not, but nonetheless, this scales him really high. And if we do scale him above Nukes that many times, he should also contend with, if not even surpass Excalibur, considering all those nukes that I said before were an island level, if not above it. And all those are surpassed with Raiden's sheer consistent scaling above characters and entities that scale above that and to it. Now, as for durability, I don't think there is much to say about that, either, as most of it is covered fairly well in the AP/strength scaling section of this video. All I really need to say is Raiden's durability should scale relative to his attack potency, which is above nukes, like said earlier, and above characters that can tank it, etc., pretty consistently. Now, this should be the last section of the video, if not the second to last one, and that is weapons and equipment. Now, hands down, I gotta say, Raiden wins in quality. However, Excalibur does have a lot more weapons and equipment than Raiden does, and some of which can even counter some of the weapons that Raiden has, like the one used in Death Battle, to nullify Raiden's best high-frequency blade he acquired from Sam. However, Raiden does actually have more than that. And all the bladed/melee weapons he does have access to all have the high-frequency enhancement of ignoring conventional durability. And all that on top of some other ones. But he has Monsoon's Sai, a weapon that allows him to grapple to his enemies and pull him in towards them, and it also stuns the enemy as well. Though I'm not sure if you have to be a cyborg or not, though, in order for that to happen to you. He has high-frequency machetes, or Bloodlust, as its given name, which he acquired from killing Sundowner. Heavier blades, which I assume have a much heavier strike force when compared to Raiden's original high-frequency blade he had from the beginning of Rising. And there are two of them as well, which are usually used to get the opponent in between them, allowing to quickly cut off their opponent like that. Mistral's Polearm, a high-frequency weapon that is a lot longer than the other high-frequency weapons and can de-extend and extend, I believe. And as for other equipment, he has a thing to communicate with his allies through that presumably keep watch over what he's doing and analyze his enemies and tactics, etc. Kind of like an AI, but at the same time not like one. Or at least just not really as advanced, to be honest. He has his pistol, rocket launchers, EMP grenades, nanopaste, which he can heal himself with, electrolyte packs, which can restore his energy, smoke grenades, and regular grenades, and, oh yeah, the cardboard box, which he uses to hide in. He also has many different wigs as well, which usually give him an infinite number of stats or something like energy. Infinity Wig A, Infinity Wig B, and Blade Mode Wig, which all allow for infinite ammo for sub-weapons, infinite fuel cell/energy for blade mode, and infinite enhanced blade mode, and also infinite energy for Ripper mode. Should be one of them, either with one of the wigs or one of the custom cyborg bodies. With all those stat categories out of the way, now it's time to think about who would actually win between the two. And I gotta say, despite Excalibur having counters to some of Raiden's weapons and tactics, Raiden should take this one 7 times out of 10, because speed alone, to me, puts this in a GG situation for Raiden. Think about it. Being 20,000 times to 40,000 times faster than light is far too much for anything Excalibur to handle, literally. Raiden would not even be a blur to him. It would be even faster than that. And Excalibur isn't even 100% the speed of light. Death Battle, after looking at the footage again, said he was at 9.5% the speed of light or something around that range of speed. And even if you wanted to highball Excalibur and say, oh, he's 100% at the speed of light, that still wouldn't be enough. Excalibur can't react to anything from Raiden, but Raiden can definitely react to him. On top of the fact that Raiden can slow down time and use Blade Mode and Ripper Mode to enhance even that and all of his other stats, and use those things infinitely if you include the wigs and or cyborg bodies, the custom ones. As for strength / AP and durability, like I said before, Raiden's strength very consistently scales to his durability. And with that in mind, Raiden should scale up to Excalibur here, if not above him as well here, considering he scales to things that have scaled above other things that scale above nukes. And these are nuclear wars, not just one bomb or two like I mentioned before. So with that in mind, it fits all the types of nukes combined that can be island level or above them on Earth, or all of them combined into one big explosion. Raiden should scale above them very solidly, and Excalibur is only very solidly in island level. There's no evidence to really suggest that he can tank things above 46 gigatons of TNT, which was him scaling to enemies he fought that Atlas himself fought. So either he and Raiden are relative in that category, or you very much could make a good argument that Raiden scales above him in AP and durability, if you were to go by all the nukes in one stuff. And to debunk a point Death Battle made on the high frequency blade not being good enough to one-shot or even straight up kill Excalibur in time is a lie as well. Because the thing is, Excalibur is by no means Senator Stephen Armstrong. The only reason why he tanked Raiden and his weapons more so is because he had the nanomachines, which hardened to an amount depending on how hard something was going to strike him. And while it did that with Raiden and his high frequency Marasama, it did that with Raiden and with his high frequency Marasama blade, he straight up cut through them. Meaning if Armstrong had 0 nanomachines, then even with his impressive durability scaling mentioned before, he would have gotten killed with just a few hits, if not one-shotted by Raiden, maybe even with just his original high-frequency blade, to be honest. And to the argument Death Battle made against Raiden for Excalibur being that he has a weapon that can counter Raiden's weapon, turning it essentially into a regular slab of steel, as they said, while that is true that he can do that, Raiden has a few ways to counter this that Excalibur wouldn't even have thought of, considering, they don't have prior knowledge of one another, as that's how these battles are made with the intention of. The first one being that Raiden has way more than enough speed to dodge it. As stated earlier, he is 20,000 to 40,000 plus times faster than Excalibur, so Raiden can indeed react to said weapon and dodge it. The second argument being that if Raiden did lose his Marasama blade, Raiden has plenty of other weapons he can pull out in case that does happen and pull out a victory. And Raiden indeed would know if his blade was nullified / made useless, since he has dealt with enemies in situations where his weapons are destroyed or disabled. Like when Armstrong completely snapped Raiden's original high-frequency blade completely in half, making it useless. Which also leads into the other argument, and that is if Raiden did lose his weapons, he can easily take the fight with his fists. His AP is more than enough to fight with them, and while the fight would certainly be longer for Raiden, and Raiden can still take the win here, considering he has experience with many martial arts in CQC with his bare hands, and Excalibur just doesn't have as much experience with his bare fists like that. And the final arguments I have are, even if Raiden didn't know his weapon was disabled, it's pretty clear here that he can definitely have tanked that strike from Excalibur at the end of the video, no question about it, and could have easily reacted to it. So, pretty much, if you take all those arguments and stack them on top of the fact that Raiden has wigs and bodies that can grant him infinite fuel cells and infinite Ripper mode and Blade mode, it just makes the fight even more GG for Raiden. However, I notice how I only said 7 times out of 10, and that's because I do believe Excalibur can take this sometimes with his counters, just not a lot of the time. And, well, that's how in the end Raiden can actually be Excalibur, especially the death battle representation of him. If you want to see more content like this, just make sure to follow my channel, of course, and if you do disagree with me, that's fine. I'm more than happy to take a debunk video and hopefully even respond to that, since there's not much going on YouTube at the moment for me. It's been quite boring trying to find topics to talk about. Anyways, have a good one.
Now this is a fight!